Hey, YouTube Nation. Guess who's here? Ready to put on some makeup and talk about books, books, books. Well, it's me. It's Rita Reads and talks about books while putting on makeup. Now, you may be wondering why I have to put on makeup while I talk about books. I don't know. But I've watched YouTube, and every time people talk about anything on YouTube, they put on makeup. So I'm just doing what they do, peeps. I also want to tell you, you may be wondering how I can be such an amazing multinational YouTube star without having a YouTube channel or a single subscriber. I don't know the answer to that either. All I can say is, it just comes to me. So today I'm going to talk to you about a great book I read. It's a wonderful, actually, and this one's a little different. I didn't read it, I listened to it. It's a book, it's got a really seriously long title. It's called The Good Hand, a memoir of work, brotherhood, and transformation in an American boomtown. And as if that weren't enough, it's got the world's longest author too. The author is Michael Patrick F. Smith. Now that name's long, but he's a good guy. I listened to this book, and I listened to it while I was getting ready for surgery. Oh, you didn't notice. Oh, yeah, I did. I had surgery on my neck. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. That's the blood coming out. They had to take out my entire spine and replace it with a pig spine. It was a whole thing. It was really a mess, but I'm getting better now. So much better, in fact, that I'm ready to revive my YouTube brand and tell you about this great book called The Good Hand, a memoir of work, brotherhood, and transformation in an American boomtown. Okay, let me tell you about this book. I like this book for a lot of reasons. One reason I like this book a lot is I do truly like memoir. I like stories of real people. And I like stories of real people who are different than me. I read a ton of memoirs. In fact, I would say I tend to scan the shelves for any new memoirs that come out and read them almost immediately upon release. And this one was one of those. I was kind of looking at the Goodreads lists and seeing, well, what can I read a new memoir to keep me busy while I'm sitting around the house by doctor's orders. He said, sit around the house and try not to get paralyzed. Okay. So I was sitting around the house trying not to get paralyzed, just listening, looking for a good book to read, and I found this one, The Good Hand. I thought, well, that sounds interesting. It's about the boom time. Remember when they found all that good, sweet, sweet black gold they could frack up there in North Dakota, and then everybody ran out there to get some of that sweet, sweet cheddar that comes with the sweet, sweet fracking money. And Kevin Miner went out there, my ex-husband. You may remember that. He went out there to do some work for a while and didn't stay long, but went out there for a while to do some work. And, I thought, well, that'd be a good one for me to read, also because I tend to like boom towns. I have lived in lots of boom towns. I lived in Alaska during the salmon boom of the 90s and loved it. Made a ton of money up there hustling salmon. Lived in Las Vegas during a construction boom. I still don't know what that boom was. I don't know why everyone was moving to Las Vegas in the 2000s, but everyone was, and it was a boom town. They were building like 4 schools a week there when I was teaching there. It was crazy, and I loved it. So I thought, well, this is a good book for me. The other reason I love memoir, and maybe some of you would too, is because I feel like right now people love to talk about how divided our nation is. There's, reds and blues and people wearing this hat and people wearing that hat and people who wouldn't talk to those people because of this, that, or the other. And to be honest, I've just never found that to be true. I've always felt like, yeah, okay, some of us have some different beliefs. You guys know I run mostly liberal, although fiscally kind of conservative, to be honest, but socially super, super liberal. You know that. I've never hit it. I tend to vote Democratic, never hit it. Although in local elections, it's about 50-50, about 50-50 Republican and Democrat locally. But here's the thing. my best friends often have the absolute opposite viewpoints as me. Not only the absolute opposite voting records, but the absolute opposite viewpoints. And it doesn't mean anything. We're still best friends. We still love each other. We still watch each other raise our kids. We still believe in the best in each other. So this whole America is super divided always felt kind of like something that was made up on the news media that wasn't really true anywhere I had lived. And again, well, here I am not talking about the book. I'll get to the book, I promise. Again, I've lived all over the country, and I've traveled a lot too, been all over the world, and lived in people who are vastly different than me, who look different, speak different languages, have seriously different sets of beliefs, and we've all been cool to each other. So I never really bought the narrative of us being super divided. Heck, during the time Bush II was president, I traveled in Muslim countries as a Jewish woman and never felt any animosity from anybody. I just don't believe it. I think there's some of it maybe deep. I mean, I know there is. Okay, I'm not stupid, but I don't see it in the day-to-day in the way people interact with each other. So that's why I like reading memoirs. The other thing is I like going where I can't go, and I like getting to know people that probably I wouldn't be able to get to know. This one, for example, Mike in this book, is working in a boom town on the oil rigs. Now, here's the deal. Even when I was working in Alaska, as I like to say, where the men are men and the women are too, love that. Even when I was working up there, the men probably treated me something different. And so I didn't get the real picture. But when you read Mike's book, you get to see what these guys really were about. Kind of a peek into a secret world. And it was. I'm going to tell you right now, it's raunchy. If you have an aversion to hookers, blow, and cuss words, you probably don't want to read or listen to this book. But if you can stomach that, you do want to read or listen to this book because it's easily one of the best memoirs I've read in the past dozen years. So anyway, Mike takes you on this trip and you meet all these guys who are trying to make good on their lives, and it's kind of his band of merry characters. His best friend Huck is this young guy, just a ne'er-do-well, who just seems to fuck up at every turn, just getting himself in trouble and fist fights and whatever, but he's a good guy at heart. Never would have met Huck probably, or if I would have met him, he would have been a nice guy to me. Maybe buy me a drink at a bar when I was younger or something, but I wouldn't have got the same perspective. So again, the reason I really recommend reading The Good Hand is because you get to meet people you wouldn't otherwise meet. That's a pretty amazing gift that Mike gives us in this book. So anyway, he works out on this oil rig, and you meet all of his friends and learn how they make their money and spend a couple, almost a year with him out there learning what it means to be a really good hand in one of the most difficult jobs on the planet in some of the most difficult conditions. It's minus 34 out there in the winter, which he thinks is cold. Up here in Wisconsin, we're like, yeah, whatever, just put on another coat. You're fine. It's not that cold. But in any event, you learn what it's like to do the toughest work in the world with some pretty tough characters who, though, really are just normal people like you and me. And I loved it. It was funny. I laughed a lot. I cried a few times too, but mostly I laughed. And the best part of it is if you listen to the book, Mike reads it himself. And I call him Mike because we're best friends now, or at least I fancy it that way, because I'm his number one fan. No, I'm not. No, Mike, I'm not your number. No, it's not like that. We're friends because once I chatted him up on Facebook and he responded, so now I fancy us kind of friends. You know how I do. In any event, he's a good guy, and he reads the book out loud on Audible. I highly recommend it. But what's really cool is the guy's kind of multi-talented. I don't know, maybe he'd object to me saying kind of multi-talented. He's multi-talented, whatever, Mike, there. Fed your big eagle. Good enough. He's multi-talented. He not only writes books, he also is some kind of an actor, writer of plays or whatever, but he also plays the guitar and writes his own music. And so throughout the audiobook, he sings songs and plays the guitar for you too. So peeps, here's what I'm going to tell you. I look pretty good right now, don't I? It's amazing. I'm almost 52. I just had freaking neck surgery. There's a pig spine in me. I'm looking pretty good, but I don't feel that great. Because why? Because I just had major surgery and I don't feel that great, okay? And leading up to getting the surgery was some rough, dark moments, man. I was laying around in bed feeling sorry for myself. It's normal. That's what people do. It's okay. Don't feel sorry for me. But here's the deal. Mike and his friends helped me out a lot. I recommend you listen to that book. Ah, shit. I forgot to put on. What's that stuff? Mascara. That's okay. I'm going to wash this all off after anyway. All right. Hey, guys, I love you. Happy reading. Buy Mike's book. It's really good. It's called The Good Hand by Michael Patrick Fitch. I'm going to put it in the comments. Love you. Bye.